I just pushed my code and my site deployed itself to a live server. I never opened our terminal on that server. Claude wrote the entire GitHub Actions workflow and the deploy script and told me exactly which secrets to add. And I am going to build the whole thing from scratch with you right now. So this is what we are going to achieve in this video. As you can see in this diagram, by the end, every push to main branch automatically deploys and you won't write a line of the workflow yourself. Claude will do everything by itself. We start from nothing, a fresh repository and a fresh server. I will just clone my application into the VPS for the first time manually, but after that, Claude Code will take over and do everything for us. So I will show you each and every step so that you don't miss anything. So let's begin. So for this, I will be using the DigitalOcean to create my VPS servers. So let me log in first. Alright, I'm logged in. So now let's quickly create a droplet and I will select the Docker version. So that Docker is pre-installed by default so that we don't have to install Docker manually. And here I will select basic, regular, and $6 per month is more than enough. And here I already have generated and added my SSH keys. So I just have to select and create the droplet, but I also want to show you that how you can do the same, because this is the same key that will be used in the GitHub repository setting. So let me open a terminal first. Here I will run this command ssh-keygen and I'm naming this key as the deploy key that will be saved in the .ssh folder for me, and this is the name. So let's submit that. The key is generated. Let me quickly show you cd.ssh, and here is the key that I just created, deploy_key. Now let me get the public key, cat deploy_key.pub, use pipe and pb copy. That will copy the public key on my clipboard. That's it. Now here I just clicked on the add SSH key and paste the key here, and you can name it temporary SSH key. You can name it anything. I just named this because I will delete it later. I just added for this video. That's it. Now let's hit that create droplet button. Okay, give it some time. So once it is created, we will just make sure that we can access VPS through the SSH key that we just generated, because if that works, then we will use the same SSH key to add in our GitHub repository. All right, it is created and here is our IP address. Let's copy that, go to the terminal and let's run the command ssh-i, and here let's add the path of our SSH key that we just generated, ssh/deploy_key, and here we will add the username root at the IP. Let's test it, and first time it will ask you this question. Just type yes, and you see that we are now inside our VPS, so that's mean it is working. Now I can just exit out of this VPS, and now let me go back to the folder where I want to set up my project. Now let's go to the browser and create a repository. Okay, let's create the repository. So let's click on this button, new repository, and here I will name it Claude GitHub Actions Demo, and let's keep it private and hit that create repository button. Okay, let's copy this URL and I will use the GitHub CLI to clone it. GH repo clone and paste the URL. So first of all, I will log in to my GitHub CLI by running the command auth login, hit enter, and let's select github.com, hit enter again, type Y, login with the web browser, hit enter. It will take you to the, just copy this code and click on this URL. It will take you to this page on GitHub. Select your account where you want to log in, and let's paste this code, hit continue button and click on authorize GitHub. Press enter in your terminal and it will acknowledge that you have authorized in the browser. Once you're done, you can continue to clone that repository. So run this command again, gh repo clone, hit enter. and the repository is cloned. Now let's cd into that folder, Claude GitHub Actions demo. Currently it is empty. Let me open it in the VS Code, and I will be using the Claude Code extension in my VS Code. So for that I will have to log in first. So for that I will just click on this button, Claude AI subscription. It will take me to the browser so that I can log in. So let me quickly log in. Okay, let's just hit that authorize button and it's done. Let's go back to the VS Code and we have access to the Claude. So here, let me select the model. I will keep the default one selected, that is Opus 4.8 with 1 million context. That is more than enough. Now I will just ask it to create my Next.js project. Please create a Next.js project using bunx because this is really fast. So it will run all of the commands that are needed and asking for my permission to execute this command. This will basically use the create next app command to generate the Next.js application. Alright, you see that in the left sidebar, the files are created for the Next.js. Alright, Next.js project is created and here is the summary. Now we are quickly going to and push these changes. All files, let's stage them and commit these changes. Let me try to commit from the terminal. Git commit -m changes. Okay, the commit is created. Now let me push it. Git push origin main. Alright, our changes are pushed to the GitHub. Now let me show you. Let me take you to the GitHub. So let's reload this repo and you will see that all files are there. Now let me copy the IP address of my VPS and go back to the VS Code, and here I will ask Claude to host this application on my VPS. Please host this application on my VPS. The IP address is this one and I will tell it which SSH key to access it. So for that, go to the terminal and go to the SSH folder and let me copy the deploy key and use this SSH to access this VPS. Please use docker compose docker host it. So first create docker file and docker compose docker files here in this repository. Push it and then clone in VPS and everything up. So let me submit that. But before that, from here I will select the auto mode so that AI don't bother me for small permissions. So it will automatically decide if permissions are safe. It will automatically decide for us. So it has found the deploy key in our SSH folder and it has also tested and it worked. It was able to connect to that VPS and it found that Docker was already installed in that remote server and Git is also present. So it has created some to-dos. First, it will create the Docker file it just created and Docker compose. So let me show you those files. So this is the Docker file that it just created. And this is the Docker compose file with only one service so far. And in the build, we have context that will using the Docker file that it just created. It has made all of the changes and pushed the changes. Now it is going to deploy on the VPS. So first of all, it will SSH into the VPS and it will clone it. So here you see it is cloning this repository in our VPS. So it was not able to access the repository in the VPS because it is a private repository. So it is facing some issues. It is figuring out everything by itself. Now it is checking if I am already authorized by using GitHub CLI. It found that I'm already logged in. I will ask it, please use my SSH deploy key and add it to my GitHub repository to give VPS access. So in this way, it will, instead of generating a new SSH key, it will use our existing one. So it got the public key. Now it is using the GitHub CLI and within the repository that we created on the GitHub, it has added the public key. So here it is saying that the deploy key is registered. Now let me copy the private key to the VPS. Actually, private key is already in the VPS, so I don't think that it needs to copy the private key. Private key was already in VPS, so you don't need to copy over. Meanwhile it do that, let me show you something. Go to the setting and here click on the deploy keys, and you see that this key was generated by the Claude Code. Here it is now finding the existing key on the VPS and use that instead. Okay, so it is figuring out everything by itself. It found that it has to use a different public key, so it will just get the public key and will run the GitHub CLI command to update the public key on our repository. And now the cloning worked fine. So let it complete everything. Alright, the clone is succeeded. Now it is asking, let me build and run the app with Docker Compose on the VPS. So it is executing this command on the VPS. You see that Docker Compose up -d -build will build the Docker file that we committed earlier. So it will take some time to build that Docker file. Once everything is done, we will get the success message here. And then we will be able to test the application on this IP address. Alright, we see some response. I think it is done. The container is up and mapping port 80 to 3000. So let me verify the app response both from VPS and externally. So it is just verifying by hitting that IP address just to make sure that it is working and accessible. And here we see that all to-dos are completed and we have a success message along with summary. So this is the URL. Let's click on that and it will take you to the browser. And here is our Next.js application working perfectly fine, live. But this is just the first step. Next, we need to implement the automation through the GitHub Actions. Now let me ask Claude Code to set up this GitHub Actions. So here I'm asking it to set up GitHub Actions workflow that deploys this app to my VPS over SSH every time I push to main. So create a workflow file and tell me exactly which GitHub secrets to add. Actually, this one is not needed because this part is already done. Let me remove that. So let's hit submit and see what it makes. All right, it has acknowledged the request. I'll create the workflow file and set up the secrets it needs. Let me write the workflow first. So here is a GitHub folder. Here is a deploy.yml file and all of the code is created already. And let's see what it did here. It used this appleby SSH action and used the secret variables, and these variables are not created yet. So it will automatically use our GitHub CLI to create those secrets for us. And it is now committing and pushing the changes. So let me quickly show you the secrets that it has added. So here in the settings, we have secrets and variables section. Click on the actions and there you will find all three secrets that it just created and added the correct values. That's great. So it also used the SSH key that was needed within that workflow file. So let's go to the action because the changes are already committed and pushed. So let's see if the deployment is started. Yes, you see the workflow is started here and you can just click on that to see the progress. It is now deploying over SSH. It got the access on our remote VPS and it is now building the Docker image by using Docker file. And here you see the compilation is completed. So give it some time and it will make the changes. Currently, we didn't make any change in our application, so you will not see any difference, but I will ask you to make a nice landing page and push it so that we can see the change. So here, let me ask it, can you please create a nice landing page about anything random so that I can test the automated deployment. Let's hit enter. Above it is basically just watching the deployment, but you can just stop it from watching it because we have another request. So let me just stop that, and tool was interrupted and now it has started to work on our next request about creating a nice landing page. So it will just work on that. Meanwhile, we can keep an eye on this deployment to see if it goes well and just to make sure it doesn't crash. Alright, so it has started to work on our website already. it is making changes on the layout.tsx and other files. So let it complete everything first. You see, these are the changes. Okay, it has made some changes on layout.tsx and made some changes on the page.tsx, added some data and all that stuff. Now it is just testing the application just to make sure that app is not crashing. Once it is satisfied, then it will create a commit and push it. The first deployment is not completed yet. Alright, it just committed our changes and pushed them to the GitHub. So after it has pushed it to the GitHub, it will start another deployment. Let me show you. So if you go to the actions, a new deployment just started. The old deployment was cancelled by the Claude Code by itself, and the new deployment is kicked in already. So let's watch it, open it, and it is now rebuilding the Next.js application by using the latest changes. So let it complete it first. Okay, it's been 6 minutes. I don't know how much time further it will take. So I will just go back to the Claude and just stop this watch process, and I will ask it that it's been 6 minutes and GitHub action process still not completed. Is it stuck or what? Should I wait further or not? So it will basically do everything just to check and investigate what's going on. It will tell us what's the problem, if there is any. So it is basically running this command. It got some output and it says that it has been running for 8 minutes on a single step. Let me look at the live job log and check what Docker is doing on the VPS directly. So now it is digging into further details. Here we got some information that SSH to the VPS just timed out during banner exchange. That's the key clue. The VPS isn't hanging on nothing, it's overloaded. The workflow runs docker compose up-d-build, which rebuilds the whole image on VPS. It is saying bun install and next build is memory hungry, and on a small droplet that trashes swaps hard enough to make even SSH unresponsive. Let me confirm by retrying SSH a couple times. So yeah, we may have to upgrade the RAM of our droplet if it doesn't work. So let me just quickly ask it, should I increase RAM of my droplet? Yeah, it is saying that increasing RAM would fix it, but you probably don't need to. The better fix is to stop building on the droplet, where here is what's happening. Your workflow runs this command on VPS, so droplet does bun install next build itself. Next builds are memory hungry on 512 MB or 1 GB droplet that exhausts RAM, the box starts swapping, etc. So we have two options. Option A, add swap free 2 minute. My recommendation to try first. Our 2 GB swap file lets the existing droplet survive the build's memory peak. Option B is build in GitHub Action, not on the VPS. This is the best long-term solution, and I think this is great idea that we should build it on the GitHub Action. So it will be built on the GitHub servers, not on our VPS. So I think option A is better, although it is recommending the option A, but I will prefer option B. Let's move to option. So it will basically change our deploy.yml file, and our action workflow action is also failed because of the timeout. So that's fine. I'm sure next deployment will be smooth and successful. Okay, so it has cancelled that stuck run on GitHub, and now it is changing the docker compose file. So let's see. So it is just clearing things up on our VPS, like it is checking how it ended and whether a droplet recovered or not, because if droplet is still, deployment will also not work. So maybe we will have to restart the VPS if it is still stuck somewhere. Just wait for some time. So it is saying that VPS is unreachable. A leftover Docker build is likely still thrashing it. Let me try connecting and kill any in progress build to free it. So it says while it recovers, let me prepare all the option B files so we are ready to deploy the moment it's reachable. Let me track this. So it created these to-do list where first it is rewriting the workflow to build the push image to GHCR. Let me take you here. So it has added all this extra code in the deploy.yml file. So here what it is doing is that first it will check out to our branch, log into to the GHCR, and then it will build the image. Then it will deploy to the VPS after image is created. Now it is waiting for the droplet from thrashing build. Okay, it is saying that while the droplet recovers, let me push the option B changes that kicks off the CI image build, which runs on Git. So it has pushed the changes. CI is now building the image on GitHub runners. Let me check on the droplet recovery. It is saying that it is still not responding. So let me ask it something. Let me cancel it. Should I manually restart the droplet on DigitalOcean? Okay, yes. So we have to restart. So you see that the deployment has been started. So while it happens, let's go to the droplet and let's restart it. So in the action, there is a restart button. So just click on that. We need to copy paste the name of the droplet to confirm. So just hit the restart and droplet is now restarting. You see that the CPU usage was on 62%. If I click on the insights, we can see the history at what was happened actually. So you see that CPU usage was full and that's why it was not working. Anyways, the droplet is rebooted. Now let's go back and see here. We are on this step. It is building and pushing the image. So all this is happening on GitHub runner. So it didn't reach to the VPS stage yet. So it's fine. Now our VPS is ready to respond. So once the image is ready and pushed, our VPS will pull it in this stage. And you see that it is doing everything. Now it is on the deploy on VPS step. On the VPS it has pulled and started the container, and look at that green tick icon. That's mean everything is done correctly. So that's mean it is live. So let's go back to the application and let's reload it just to see if changes are live or not. I just hit the reload button. So let's see if we see the updated page. It is not responding. I don't know why. So while it is loading, let me go back to the Claude Code and tell it I have restarted the VPS and the deployment is green on GitHub, but my IP is not loading anything. Yeah, it is still loading. So let me submit that. So it will figure it out automatically what's going on. So let me stop the old watcher and SSH in to diagnose what's actually serving or not on the box. So now it is SSHing in our VPS to diagnose. We check the container state and it says that box is recovered. The container has the right GHCR image but exited. So there is some problem on our VPS. So let's see what it is. So it is saying that the container actually started cleanly. Next.js reached the ready, then got sig kill. Most likely it was caught mid reboot. I don't think so. So it didn't come back. Let me just bring it up and confirm it says stays running. So it says that container is up and serving 200 locally. Let me confirm it's reachable externally and that Aurora page is actually being served. Okay, so it says that it is live. So let's test it. Yes, now it is working and it looking beautiful. Now, as we faced several hiccups, so I just want to test once more. So I will ask it to make a change. I want it to create another page, contact us. That should be a separate page. So if I click on that, it will take us to that page and we will watch the deployment to see if deployment is smooth this time, because last time we had some other problem, the RAM issue. So let me ask it. Now can you please add a separate page, contact us, and add its link in the header. So let's see what it makes. So it is saying I'll extract the header into the shared component so the navigation including the new contact link is constant across both pages, then add the contact page. That's great. So now it is making those changes, moving the header in a reusable component to reuse it on 2 pages. Okay, the header file is created here and it has the contact button. Now it is testing. Once it is satisfied, it will push it to GitHub. Alright, changes are committed and pushed to the GitHub. Now the new deployment should be triggered by now. So let's go to the GitHub repository and let me take you to the actions, and you will notice that a new workflow has started. The build and deploy is in progress. It has logged into the GHCR, building the image and pushing it once again. And I'm hoping that this time it should be faster than before, because it may have the cache stored somewhere on GitHub runner. It just has to build the Next.js application. And here we see that compilation is successfully done. Yes, it is happening faster than before now. All right, now it is deploying on VPS. So on the VPS, it is pulling and restarting the Docker. And here we got the green icon again. That's mean everything was done successfully. Now let's go back to our application and let's reload it. And this time it was very smooth. There was no hiccup, no issues, and we got the contact button. Let's click on that and here is the contact page. So it is fully working. That's perfect. Excellent. Now our Next.js application is fully automated. The deployment is fully automated. So from now on, whenever I will make any change in my application and push it, it will automatically be pushed and deployed to my remote VPS. I will not have to do anything. I will just have to keep maintaining my application, keep changes, and it will be automatically deployed every time. So that is really helpful now. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video. I tried to keep this video original and genuine. I didn't delete any hiccups, any troubles that I faced. I wanted to show you the genuine problems that a developer face while working on such things, so that you can learn from my experience how I troubleshoot the issues and how I solve the problems. So I hope that I was able to provide you some value. If you think so, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get notified for my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.